Welcome to Cinemaphile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemaphilepod.com. Are We Good follows the life of comic and podcast pioneer Marc Maron. Loss and growth take center stage as he struggles to evolve from a deep tragedy. The passing of his partner and filmmaker and love of his life, Lynn Shelton, weighs on Marc as the film picks up a year later. We follow a very self-reflective man in the middle of a lot of crisis, existential and otherwise. Just a great documentary film about a truly interesting person, Marc Maron. Well, we're joined today by the director of Are We Good? And that would be Stephen Feinartz. Stephen, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Having looked at your filmography, your career, you have worked in the field of comedy with stand-ups, with other great comedic minds. Did you have a relationship with Marc? How did this sort of become the film that we see?
Yes, I've known Mark since about 2010. So when I was doing my first documentary in the comedy world called The Bitter Buddha, he was actually in it. I've known him for a while, and just also just kind of hanging around the comedy scene. He always knew I was there, and I was always a fan, but never like a super fan. In a way, like we were. I always admire his work, but kept a little distance, in terms of working with him. I knew he had other directors that he'd work with, and when this came to me in end of 2020, early 2021. I felt like we had enough history that it felt like the right time to do something. Yeah.
So when you approached him, given how we see him in the film, the kind of personality he is it fair to call him at times a tad prickly? Would that be an apt description?
Understatement. Yeah, no, he is who he is.
Yeah,
He
he is who
puts
he
it
is.
all out there. He doesn't shy away from it. So he's
So
honest.
what was his response? What was his reaction when you approached him?
So yeah, Julie Seba and I, she producer on the film and story editor, she came to me with the idea, and we approached him together about doing it. And I think, was a little apprehensive at first, but was, interested just to kind of see what would happen. So one day we just showed up the first day back at the Comedy Store when they started doing comedy again after the pandemic, or in the midst of the pandemic. We showed up with a camera and started filming, and he just, I think from the get-go, he felt, okay with it. He was a little like, it was like, what's the point of this? A little bit of that, but I think he liked having the sounding board and having an audience off stage as well as on stage.
Is that what we see at the beginning of the film with him turning to the camera and saying, I don't know whether, and I won't use all the words he used.
Yeah.
Am I doing this? Was that first encounter, or was that
The
another?
first encounter, but it was right around, it was maybe the third or fourth time we were at the
Okay.
Comedy Store. So it was all within that first month and a half filming. Yeah.
People who don't know about him as a stand-up and don't know about his podcast, how would you describe his sense of humor or his approach to comedy?
I'd say his sense of humor is just, honesty and truth telling and, calling out the powers that be. That's more so, lately what he's been doing. But it's also, it's also very, it's about himself.
Yeah.
He's an open book. He doesn't, he tells you everything about his life. The podcast is literally like him telling you about his day with his cats and, with people that annoyed him and all that. So I think, he allows the audience into his life, and it's sometimes, amazing, and sometimes it's hard for him because people have a parasocial thing with a performer like him because he is so accessible. But yeah, I'd say if anything, he is somebody you can easily get to know pretty quickly from hearing just the intro to his podcast.
He comes from a part of the comedic world that I think has such a rich tradition.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to Lenny Bruce in terms of talking about things that were impacting them personally. They weren't the kind of comic that would come out and tell, 20 or 30 jokes and wait for, everyone waiting for the punchline. People like Lenny Bruce and moving forward, Woody Allen and others, and Larry David, there's a whole Gary Shandling, so many of them bring us into their lives and whatever it is that they're involved with. And what I think makes their comedy so effective is, generally speaking, it's very relatable. No matter how well known or popular or famous they are, they're all the things that they deal with, the foibles of life. And I would put Mark near the top of that list of people, as you just described him, in terms of bringing us into his life, but making the things that are happening to him, the things that he relates to, very, very relatable. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, I absolutely think so. Yeah, he allows the audience into his life in that way, and has, everything. What's going on in his life is very similar to probably what's going on in a lot of people's lives. It's anxieties, it's depression, it's neuroses, it's, fear of, the world falling apart, things like that. And he's an incredible communicator, and incredibly vulnerable and honest. And yeah, I mean, it's really sad that the podcast is ending that he's doing. I think it ends in mid-October. He's been doing it for 16 years, and that's going to be a big shift for him to not have that outlet.
Without giving anything away you shouldn't be talking about, what is he planning after that?
I don't. I think he's just doing stand-up and acting, and I know he wants to direct a film that him and his friend Sam wrote are writing together, and I think those
Okay.
are things he's focusing on right now. Yeah.
Well, it's hard to talk about the film, by the way. Are We Good? It's terrific. I so much appreciate the way you told the story. And again, I think people who may not have heard of Mark Maron should check it out because I think you'll find somebody who's, as you said, he's interesting. I loved at the end, the very last person we see on screen. I'm just blanking out.
Oh, John.
John Mulaney. The way he sums him up. Now, don't go to the end of the film, but I mean, just the kind of the perspective he puts on Mark. It sounded that sounded very very cool and very accurate to me. And my point is, we are seeing Mark. I don't know the best of times, worst of times, but we're seeing navigate a very, very important series of events in his life, the passing of the love of his life, Lynn Shelton. Was there any kind of ground rules or trepidation around this whole part of the film between you and him, between you and Mark, or how it unfolded? Is there anything that he put any fences up around or?
No, he didn't really put up many fences around anything. It's just, we would just, as a filmmaker, I went in careful about how to approach her story. So we didn't want to, again, I didn't want to, it's not the Lynn Shelton documentary, and I didn't want it to be perceived as something like that because I didn't know her. So it was all through his lens. But he, gave me everything more than what we needed, and then it was a decision in the edit to see how much restraint and how much, how to balance that. He doesn't shy away from saying whatever's on his mind. So it's a good thing for a documentary subject, but it's also a challenge when you have to, like, put together the film and make sure it's audiences can, they bring their own stuff to it, and I didn't want things to be perceived in a way that was maybe callous or or maybe her legacy wasn't handled properly. So we were very careful there.
Yeah, and I really appreciate, obviously, I appreciate his honesty. And I would describe the arc of the story is, and it's, I think, true in life. I mean, I just recently lost both my parents. So there's,
Sorry.
there's ups and there's downs, and then maybe the downs aren't quite as low as they were the first time. And the second time, it's sort of a stutter step, if you will, forward in your life to get to a point where I think Mark is now, where it sounds like he is, at least at the end of the film. And that's a beautiful, beautiful arc to watch. It just is. And again, for even if you don't know Mark Maron, I just think on that level alone, this is a film that people will gravitate to for that reason. Is that, again, I want to make sure I'm being fair about it.
No, I think that's, yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's really well said. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, it's one film to go into. It's a doc about a comedian. Some people might think, oh, it's just going to be, a tour doc or like a laugh a second kind of thing constantly. And it is funny, and I'm proud of the funny moments, but I think there's depth. There's some depth to it, and there's something that people can take out of it for their own grieving, future grieving, dealing with hardships, and seeing somebody like Mark handle it in front of a camera, no less, and be, kind of an open book.
Yeah, with his honesty. I have to say, I like Marc Maron from the first time I saw him. I don't remember if it was a Comedy Central thing or it was just a stand-up thing, whatever it was. I always liked him, and
Yeah.
he's kind of a person, and I don't think this is conscious, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but he would rather have you not like him and then like him rather than like him and then not like him. I feel
Yeah.
like kind of that's his process, if you would.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Yeah, I think that's fair. I always say to people to, if you want to have a good meeting experience with Marc Maron, meet him after a show. Don't don't meet him before the show, before he's, as long as he's been doing it, he still has this pre-show nerves and all that. That's still there, which is a good sign because
Yeah.
you still care. But I say after the show, when he usually does great, it's good to kind of.
But I think that's a defense mechanism on his part, a sort of a way to filter out the BS that he has to deal with. He comes, maybe not. Maybe it's just
Yeah,
the way he is.
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
He also is a guy who didn't really break out in a big way until his like mid 40s,
Yeah.
late to mid 40s. The podcast didn't really hit till 2010 really in a big way. So,
Yeah.
he was doing stand up and was on Conan and all that, but he was kind of, on the peripheries of show business, not really breaking out. So, yeah, I think he appreciates where he's gotten to and can really appreciate that getting that success and feeling like yeah he earned it because he really did. He put in the years and all the ups and downs.
Yeah, he did. I'm very happy for him. I'm very happy that he's happy.
Yeah, yeah, he's content. He wouldn't use the term happy, but he would.
Enough
But that's
said.
just. But no, no. But he's in a good place. I think he's in a good place. I think he's in a good place, and I'm really happy that his new hour that we did for HBO Panicked. It's on HBO Max right now. That one seems to have resonated, and I think in my opinion, his best hour. Fantastic. He really brought it. It's great.
Oh, that's great to hear. Well, Stephen Feinartz, thank you for your work. Thank you for Mark getting a window into the world of Marc Maron for us all. The film is going to be out, you mentioned, on October 3rd in New York. The Fine Art at the, go ahead and tell us where it's going to be.
October 3rd in New York at the Regal Union Square and AMC Empire, and then in LA it'll be at the AMC Americana and Alamo Drafthouse. And then it'll
On
be
the,
nationwide. You can
on,
go find it'll be nationwide also. So if you're not in
okay,
those cities, go to arewegoodmarin.com to check it out.
very good. Very good. Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your work, and hopefully come back and join us again. I look forward. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Michael.
You have been listening to Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar, the place where you will hear from the best in independent documentary and foreign filmmakers. Please check out our previous interviews as well as upcoming interviews and special programming by going to cinemaphilepod.com. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, searchable under Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar. Until next time, thank you for listening.